Google Ads for e-commerce are more than just shopping. In this video, I want to talk about how you can use Google Search to potentially make millions of dollars for your e-commerce business, just as I've done for many of my clients. And I want to talk a little bit about how you can apply Google Search for your business regardless of what you sell, whether you have a single product store, thousands and thousands of products, just as my clients have. And I want to tell you exactly what you need to make Google Search work so that you can scale to the next level. So it doesn't matter whether you just want to diversify or whether shopping ads are too competitive in your space or you simply want to scale and get more traffic. In this video, I will tell you what the steps are to actually run a successful Google Search campaign and what you really need and what you need to test, what to try first, etc., etc. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the video. I have a kind of a random client of mine here on screen where we have been doing over the past year. I now look purely at the past 365 days, right? With this particular campaign, we made just under 300,000 euros, which historically was probably like $330,000 or something at a very profitable 3.33 ROAS. This client is breaking even at around 2, okay? So this is the situation that we have here with that particular campaign. And I have many examples like that. Yes, I'll be transparent. Search doesn't work for every single one of my clients, but in many cases, search ads are doing very, very well for us. So the first question that you need to ask yourself with search is, what do you want to sell? With shopping, it's very straightforward. You just push your entire catalog to Google, right, to Merchant Center, and then you have probably like a segmented search campaign, and then that's it. Shopping campaign. With search, you have to be a bit more deliberate about what you do. So, which category do you want to advertise, or do you simply want to advertise all of them? Do you want to advertise some bestsellers? Typically, what I recommend is pick some of your bestsellers, let's say your top 3, your top 5, top 10, and craft individual campaigns for them. But also think about advertising categories. Categories are usually the most useful thing to advertise with search because people don't see your product images up front, like with shopping. So by sending them to a category page, a collection page, they can choose the product that they like most. So the first step is, what do you want to sell? And once you figured that out, there is no, secret recipe to it. Simply try a bunch of things. You need to think about, okay, what's the perfect page to send people to? So here I have 2 examples, right? I have Wayfair, huge store, thousands of products, hundreds of thousands. And I have a simple one product store that I just found on Google, totally random, okay? The approach here is as follows. If you have a store with many products, many categories, many subcategories, you should think, okay, which categories are important to me, right? Let's say, for example, you are selling a ton of products in the lighting category, but not so much in the others. Of course, it makes sense to then start with the lighting category. And now, depending on how your store is structured and how you can get your URLs, you could either advertise the entire lighting or ceiling, as in this case, ceiling lights category, right? So you would go to ceiling lights, pick that link, and then you would go about advertising this category using all the ceiling lights keywords. But you can also narrow it down. And now it really comes down to your budget and your capacity. So if you only have $50 to spend a day, it doesn't make sense to advertise 50 different subcategories and a whole bunch of campaigns. But if you say, hey, I can easily spend $500, $1,000 a day or something, or your store and your ad account is more mature, think about what are useful subcategories and categories to advertise. As an example, I have several furniture clients that I consult or manage ads for, and we do things like, advertising chandeliers, advertising pendant lighting, like here, advertise like dining room chairs, and have these narrow subcategories as long as they have enough search volume, being like 10,000 plus usually is the rule of thumb that I use here, then this might be a valid ad group within a campaign. Typically how I structure it is the following. I have a campaign for a broader category, and then I have ad groups for the subcategories. But you should think, okay, for your particular store, what is a useful structure you can use, right? Advertise categories, advertise subcategories, and if you have a few absolute bestsellers, right, like 80% of your revenue, 90%, even potentially try to advertise these products individually. Here's the thing, you should split test in some cases your homepage versus category pages versus product pages. I have seen scenarios where the homepage, even though it's like very broad, performs the best, and where product pages perform very good, and where collection or category pages don't perform that well. Most of the time you should go with the collection or category page, but you have to test it out if you want to get the best results. Now, if you have a one product store or just a handful of products, then it's much easier, right? You simply pick your product, like here, the neck hammock, you do a keyword research in the keyword planner, or you just type them into Google and you go with keywords like, the neck hammock or neck pain, things like that. You can do it from a lot of different angles. When you have a large store with many products, you should advertise all of them in different like categories and subcategories. Whereas if you have a one product store, it's more about advertising from different angles, right? You can have one campaign that's about pain relief. You can have another one that's about the actual product, the neck hammock in this case. You can have another one that's about like relax and I don't know, sleep or something, right? And then in each of these campaigns, position your products differently with different ad copy and everything, and then advertise it, sending people to that landing page. I have several clients with one product stores as well. What we do there is I help them with actually tailoring and crafting a perfect landing page for their product, and then using like perfect ads to send people to the right spot, the right landing page, make sure that I pre-qualify them properly. I will talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but that's the very, very base setup when it comes to what to sell and where to send people to. The second part, and that's very critical, of course, are keywords and your match types. So I don't want to start from zero, right? Match types essentially mean how loose or strict your keywords are. And most people out there think that you need exact match keywords all the time, right? Like being very specific, only allow people to search for a very specific thing, like neck hammock and exact match means people can only type in neck hammock and nothing else for your ads to show up. In our case, what you will notice here, we have performed best with broad match. And that's something that I see across almost all my clients, right? The thing is, if you use broad match, Google has the most signals available to send your ads to the right person. So if you only have exact match, you're telling Google, hey, I only want people typing this exact thing into Google. If you use phrase match, Google has a bit more flexibility. And if you use broad, now Google can really leverage its machine learning capabilities and send your ads to the right person the moment they're most likely to buy. So it's a very common fallacy that people think, I want to use exact match so that I have maximum control and use all, the buying intent keywords. And on a very small scale, if you just have a $10 per day, $20, $30 per day budget, this might be the right approach to some degree, but you need to think about at least phrase and ideally broad match as quickly as possible. As you can see here, our broad match keywords were not only higher in volume, they also were more profitable all in all, right? If you see here, this keyword here, 3.6, 4.6. This one a bit less, right? Here we have phrase, 3.2. Not terrible, certainly profitable, but not among the best. And then we have another one, broad match 6. Here, phrase again. Quite a low ROAS this time, right? And then we have another phrase that's better, but then we have another broad that's doing very well. So you see overall our broad matches are performing much better than phrase. We have no exact match in this campaign. And I would probably say 80% of the total revenue, if not more, from this campaign comes from broad. And across this entire account, which of course has sold a lot more than just this campaign, we are using broad match almost all the time. What I do is typically have a campaign with some exact match where I specifically and deliberately target the keywords that I know are important for the business, but everything else is like broad match, right? I know you could say, well, if all this broad match, I have no control, and what do I actually have to do then to optimize? Well, actually, that's quite a lot. If you use broad match, it means you need to be way more sophisticated with your negative keywords. In most accounts, I have at least 3, 5, 6, 7 negative keyword lists, right? With potentially thousands of negatives. So you want to filter out all the irrelevant search queries. Also, you regularly check this keyword list and check which of these broad match keywords are actually performing. Sometimes there are individual broad match keywords that are absolutely standing out in terms of how terrible they are or in terms of how great they are. So you constantly need to refresh your keyword list and make sure that you're up to date. You need to make sure that you actually leverage broad match by also using great ads and ideally automated bidding. So target ROAS, target CPA are great if you use broad match. And if you use manual CPC, you will never get the maximum out of broad match. So that's very important as well. Then we have the ads part, right? And that's very important as well. That's like the third point over here. The ads are, I would say, the main task of the ad is to pre-qualify, right? You want to make sure that you pre-qualify people, and then only the second part is to get the maximum CTR. So I don't care if we get the best CTR in the world, but all the people are irrelevant because we pre-qualify them in a very, very bad way. Instead, I want to make sure that I have the best ads possible that pre-qualify and do a great job at getting a good CTR. So it's a very fine line. In our case, you see here, we use a whole bunch of ads. Some of them have been removed for a few very specific reasons in our account. And right now we are focused on 2 expanded text ads. Yes, they're no longer supported, so we cannot change them. And basically, I'm pushing more and more budget towards this responsive search ads that you can see over here. For some reason, it says ad strength pending, which is kind of weird, but that's basically our setup, right? Many ads that have been paused or removed, and we are focused on these 3 ads that we're split testing right now. One thing, you should focus on responsive search ads only. Of course, any new ad that you create can only be responsive search, but even if you have some older historical ads and they are expanded text ads, I recommend to pause them as quickly as possible, ideally, because you can only modify responsive search ads. So it's cool if you have some absolutely overperforming expanded text ads, right, that you created a few months ago, for example, but you will never be able to change them. Meaning if you have a different URL, or if you want to do something else, or if you want to test something different, you won't be able to do that. So in my opinion, that's why in most cases you should focus on responsive search only. Now you might ask, well, why do you have these 2 expanded text ads? Well, there's a very specific, unique reason in that business as well for that. But you can see I removed the others. In this case, normally I'm just pausing, but in this case they have been removed. And I highly recommend that you focus completely on responsive search. If you have some expanded text ads historically that are performing very, very well, like much more than the responsive, yes, you might want to keep them. But if they are close, or if they are just like a tiny bit better, get rid of them and do it all in a responsive search ad. This will accumulate more conversion data, it will be more optimized, improve over time, etc., etc. What is important is that you shouldn't create too many responsive search ads with search, because that won't really cut it, right? If you have 3 responsive search ads, each of them 15 headlines and so on, it takes forever to optimize. So usually create just 1 or 2. Make sure that you have very unique headlines as much as you can. Try to pre-qualify people by telling them what to expect in your store, right? Maybe even share the pricing level of your store with them. Share them everything they need to know about your product, so that if they click, you are fairly certain that they come to the right place, right? And that they chose or that you actually offer what they're looking for. Remember, it's not important that you get the highest possible CTR, but that you get a healthy balance of like CTR, volume, and conversion rates, because you get the right people. Once you have that, it's about, of course, the ongoing optimization. So bidding strategy, as I said, sooner or later you should switch to target ROAS as an e-commerce business most of the time, right? Also, regularly add, remove keywords. Those that are heavily underperforming, get rid of them. Those that are heavily overperforming, try to craft more similar keywords like them. Also, keep testing your ads, especially if you don't see very good results from them, right? You can constantly test new elements in your responsive search ads. If they are doing very, very well, very high click-through rate, good rating and everything, you might want to let them run for a whole while. But if not, try something new. I've seen cases where just changing a headline that was more descriptive or more qualifying suddenly caused us to have a way higher ROAS. So that is extremely important. Also with search ads, every now and then check whether there's a better landing page to send people to. As I said, sometimes it's product, sometimes it's category, sometimes it's the homepage, right? So this is something that you need to test at least every now and then to make sure that you are having the right page. If you regularly make big changes to your site. If you don't and you found your perfect page, right, that's fine. But if you made a change to your collection, or if you added a bunch of filters or something like that, make sure that you are still advertising the best possible site in your search campaign. From that point onwards, it's really about constantly being on top of the game, making sure that you have tried a bunch of keywords, that you're adding new ones, that you have negatives in place, that you use bid adjustments if you use manual CPC, potentially even audiences. You can leverage audiences. You can see over here, we are not doing that in this campaign here, so I won't show you, but you can use audiences where you can, if you're not using an automated bidding strategy, have a bid adjustment for a specific group of people, which can be very powerful as well. I talk about that a lot in my training, right? How to use and leverage audiences and all the other aspects of a search campaign for maximum performance, like the hidden things that not many people are using. But these are the main points to make a search campaign in e-commerce profitable. Yes, it is more difficult than shopping, oftentimes also more difficult than Performance Max, but the point is, once it works, you can really benefit from it for a very long time. You see here, this campaign has been running for more than a year now. And I have examples of search campaigns literally running for 3 years. My oldest clients, I work with them for like 3+ years. And there are literally some search campaigns that are still running to this day for 3 years now, of course, with a whole bunch of adjustments over time from my side, but they're still there. So once you have a search campaign that works through all the adjustments, setup, optimization that I just mentioned, of course, that was just a tiny fraction of it, but on a very broad scale, right? You get the idea. Search campaigns can be very powerful. You don't have the hassle with shopping, products getting disapproved. Competition is usually lower. So make sure to try it out. If you're stuck with search, if you say, hey, I don't know how to do it, or I don't want to do it, or it's too complex, or I have so many products, make sure to check the link in the description to talk to me, or just request my help. I will check if I can do something for you. Maybe I can, maybe not, but I can say most e-commerce businesses can benefit from search in some way or another. I had many people come to me, they thought they would never get search to work. Ultimately, it worked for them. That's very important. Or if you say, hey, I don't want that, I want to try, test it myself, I have a training that I just mentioned in the description as well. It's the brand new version of my eCom PPC Academy, where you learn everything about search, shopping, PMAX, you name it, fully ready for Q4 2022. It's brand new in that version. Everything is redesigned. So make sure that you check that out if you rather want to do it yourself. With this being said, I hope this video was helpful. I hope it gave you some ideas on how to start with search for e-commerce, which is always a bit less intuitive than shopping and PMAX. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, please subscribe for more Google Ads content specifically for e-commerce. And with this being said, I really look forward to see you in the next video. Take care and bye-bye.